Hi, I'm Cinda Sales, and welcome to this episode of Cinda Tells TV. You know, as broker-owner of the Cinda Sales Real Estate Group and over 20 years of experience, I've helped thousands of people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So as you watch this informational video, if you find that you have more questions or you'd like a personal consultation regarding your real estate needs, please call me at 816-600-7355 and I will be happy to help you. So now, let's take a look. Okay, Britton, well now we're going to talk about the actual process of buying the home, because this is real important for you to know, so you kind of are going to be prepared as we go through.
Okay.
So once we have found your dream home, we're going to write an offer. Now understand, with an offer, it is a proposal to purchase. The seller can accept it, he can counter it, or he can reject it. So we want to make sure that we make an offer that is using the comparables of properties that have sold within the last 6 months to a year when we make our offer, that we just don't fly something out there and with no basis for our offer. The next thing that we're going to want to make sure that you know about is that we're going to schedule inspections, and those are going to include your termite, a whole house inspection, and a radon.
Now, who pays for that?
The buyer pays for the inspections, because what you're trying to do is discover if there are things wrong with the property.
Now, speaking of fees, I forgot to ask you, how much does it cost to use your services?
Well, my services are actually free unless you decide to buy from a for sale by owner. And if a for sale by owner does not want to pay my service fee, then that will be something that we will need to add into the price of the home. We can add it right in, just like a closing cost, into your loan. That's
okay.
not.
I'm not interested in for sale by
That's
owners.
good. That's good. They can be okay to work with, and most of them will pay a commission or service fee, but sometimes they can be difficult if they're stretched too far and they owe too much on their
Gotcha.
house. Okay.
So, and how much are those fees for pest control and?
A pest control will typically cost you about $45. Whole house anywhere from $300 to $350, and a radon an extra $50. Now, say for instance that the house has termites. According to our contract, the seller has to treat those termites.
Do I want a house with termites?
Well, that's a really good question, because termites are something that can be remedied pretty easily unless they've done a lot of damage. And that's why we want to hire an inspector that will look for damage. And if he can't find damage and he thinks that there is some, he'll tell us.
So they can be exterminated just like
they can be
ants or
exterminated.
anything else out there.
They can be exterminated.
Okay.
Now, again, if there's damage that the inspector could not find, and they usually can tell if the termites have been in there for a while and they've been chewing on the house for a while.
Gotcha. Okay.
Whole house is going to show us that there may be plumbing leaks, or there may be electrical issues. It could be things that are pretty minimal. And we don't want to nitpick the seller when we ask for repairs. We need to concentrate on things that are major. If it had to have a new roof, if it had to have new heating and air, if it had termites, we'd want those treated. And then the other big thing that's a concern to people is radon. I suggest that you do some research on the internet on radon and decide on whether or not that's really important to you.
Well, you brought up a big ticket item like a roof. What happens if they have to replace a roof? Where does that leave me in the process of spending money for a building inspection, as you said, and next thing you know, roofs are not cheap. So how does that work?
Well, in most instances, and depending on your financing, and I know you're going to be doing an FHA loan, if the inspector calls it out and the appraiser calls it out, it has to be fixed. It has to be replaced, or if there's things that are wrong with it and it needs to be patched,
they don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice.
Okay, so I'm not paying for that. That's what I want to make sure.
No. Now we have had some instances where the seller had to replace the roof and the buyer paid for half the roof. And here's why. Because the buyer was getting the house at a really good price, didn't know the roof was going to be this bad. The seller says, well, I'm not going to own the property. I'm spending $10,000 to replace this roof. You pay half, I'll pay half. You get a brand new 30 or 40 year roof. So it's worth it at that point to do. And understand, Britton, that everything is always negotiable. We're negotiating throughout this whole contract with when we make our offer, when we go through our inspections. What if the house doesn't appraise? The appraisal process happens when the lender goes out, sends someone out there to make sure that the value of that property is what you are purchasing it for. So say, for instance, and we have that happen sometimes, unfortunately, not very often, but it doesn't appraise. Then we have to go back again to the negotiating table and talk with the seller and get back into agreement on the appraisal price.